Yeah, yeah.
And then we also have a special guest here, Chris.
Pleased to be here.
Yes.
I'm happy about it.
So today we have a good topic. We're going to talk about respect, love, and honoring the black man. We do know in today's society, a lot of black men are viewed. They have like this, like underlying standards that they have to come up to. And we just kind of want to know like how, like just take it from a different angle. Like how can we love on you all? How can we honor? How can we respect, especially hearing from your view? So we'll just go ahead and kick it right off and dive right in. The first thing I do want to ask everyone is, how do you believe black men are viewed in society from your perspective? Make sure it's your perspective and not what you see.
So, we are looked at as a lot of things, but one of the ones that stick out to me is we have to be the provider. We often have to be the one that puts on an image of security, even when we're not secure in ourselves. We are just looked at as the priest, the leader, all the way around. I think there are some positives to it, but it's also some negatives to it. So it just depends on the ideology of a person and how they see masculinity and what their expectations of it of masculinity is. Yeah. So it's a lot.
For me, it'll have to be like we always have to be strong.
Yeah.
Sometimes being strong is like, how can I put this? It's like any one signs like weakness or you show some emotion, we're being seen as, oh, you're being too sensitive, or hey, a real man don't cry, or hey, like you have to learn how to suck it up, like take your lumps and move forward. So that's sometimes I've noticed, like you can't be masculine if, well, from what I've seen, they say if you cry, you won't have masculinity, or you're not a man if you tap into your emotions.
And it goes off of whatever they deem as masculinity will be. So it's like you have to fit into the cookie cutter model of everyone that may meet you. Because for some, they may ask you just be this, and then others going to say, well, you're not doing this, so this doesn't make you a man. So it just depends on who you're talking to be honest. It's so fluid.
What about you, Erica?
Well, of course, from my perspective as a woman, I have uncles. My father was around. Now I have my own son, right? So I'm seeing it from all different angles. And I do think men, even young men, are viewed as having to be, and I know this was said already, but it's important, having to be strong. Yeah. I feel like black men especially carry so much weight, on their shoulders or in their hearts. And a lot of the things that were said today during the service, such as black men being jobless, not having enough mentors, like all of that plays a part. And then you have, women who may be trying to make a young man a man, and it just puts so much pressure on black men, like starting at a young age, I think.
That's good. I have to agree. I feel like y'all basically hit a lot of what I can agree to, too. I feel like, from my perspective, black men are viewed as, I like what you said, providers. When I see it, like, I have my dad, my brothers, and I look at them and I'm like, okay, they are the head of their households. They have to provide for their families. They have to do, like, all of the hard work. Like, even, like, this is just a side story. Like, even at my house, like, my dad does all the, like, more masculine duties. Like, he'll do the trash. Like, we don't touch the trash, or, like, even moving the trash. Like, just that type of stuff. Or, like, the car. You have to know everything about cars, and it's like if you don't, it's like, okay, are you masculine? I want to be able to say, Dad, this is wrong with my car. Can you fix it? And I feel like even me as a woman, I put pressure on my dad too. Like if there's something that he don't, I'm like, why don't you know that? Like you're supposed to be the dad. You're supposed to be the provider, and it's like I don't know what that feels like coming from like being on this end and
Oh, wow.
yeah, him receiving that.
It's
you
a
know?
load, especially when you can consistently hear it, and when you are creating your own path, trying to figure out who you are, and then there's others that are saying, "But this is who you have to be." And so I'm like you, you know, I have a son, and so I hear people saying, "Well, this is what you need to teach him." Okay, well, what if that's not his journey?
That's true.
So you have to ask that critical question, because many people expected for me to be the downright dirty kind of guy. Well, I went to school and I don't prefer to do that, and I prefer to get the degree and think. So it just depends on who you talk to.
Yeah. And I would add too that, and just like you, Mia, it's and I'm guilty, I have to be honest, you know. It is times where I may have said to people, you are the man, you are supposed to do XYZ, you know. But as I learned more about myself and I, you know, talk to a therapist or talk to doctors and things like that, I realized I am putting too much pressure on this man, you know, because everybody is trying to find themselves.
Go
and
ahead,
who
preach.
is to say exactly what a man is supposed to do? And let me just add this too. I'm talking too much.
No, you're not.
Go ahead. You
um,
speaking true. You speaking true.
Even with my son, before I had kids, I thought that I would have that football player, because I'm into sports, that football player son, basketball. He is the total opposite, and I'm so thankful, because it really did show me as a person too that, like you said, every man or boy, whoever, does not want to go the same route, you know. They may be strong and stronger in different ways, and it's just important for us as women to, you know, keep that in mind. Yeah, I'll stop there.
That leads me into my next question. So, how do you believe men of color gain power, respect, or recognition?
Now, are you saying from the world's point of view or from a Christian point of view?
You can say from. That's good.
Because
those are two different.
Because I learned what a real man was going into church, but outside
Right.
of church,
Take the route you want to take on that answer.
Okay, well, let me speak on both, because
Yep.
my mind got so messed up once I got into the church. So growing up, like I didn't grow up into a church. So for me, people always thought like a man was someone who had sex with a whole bunch of women. You got money and cars. You got a good paying job. And like,
Tough street.
Tough street. You ball at the club. You paying for the bottles. Then that makes you a man. That gives you validation from peers. So it was a time and season where I was chasing towards that, because that's what people told me. And I believed it just because I didn't have that foundation. Now, mind you, my father, he's in the house, but he wasn't in the house, if that makes any sense. So I had to go out into the world, learning how to be a man through trial and error, but I learned most of my shortcomings in being in a relationship. And just like how Erica said, she put pressure on her man, trying to make him to be something that he couldn't be on his own. And I had to deal with that. I didn't know how to be a man, and so that frustrated her, and it frustrated me, because I'm trying to be something who I wasn't taught how to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes with women, they get so miserable, or they get depressed or frustrated with their partner because they're putting expectation on something they were not taught how to do. And that frustrated me, and I even blame myself or my upbringing for my dad. I'm like, okay, so you're here, like, I don't know how to change a car. I don't know how to change a faucet. I don't know what to do if my woman is crying, or like, I don't know what to do. And it left me in the dark area where I had to learn through heartbreak and her heartbreak, where we had to part ways.
Wow.
But when I got into the church, that's when I learned like the morals and principles. Like they say like how the man is the head of the household, how he prays for his woman, he prays for his spouse. He's a leader. He shows his children the right way, how to go without destruction. How he's accountable. He has morals and ethics, and he is a servant as well. So learning things like that, that's when I learned what a true man is, when he puts others before him,
Yeah.
besides him being selfish.
That's good.
So that's what I learned.
So you You gave an amazing point of view when you said that you didn't grow up in church. I'm the complete opposite. I grew up in church, and I am not ashamed to say this, and this is going to shock a lot of people. I learned toxic masculinity in the church. I watched the figures of the church. I watched how men engage with women in the church. I'm a church kid. I make no mistake about it. It wasn't until I went to college and I learned about how mannish we have been. And I had to dismantle that toxic masculinity, and I had to learn the value in myself. And I had to create a better pathway, because coming to church, I saw deacons on the front row, but I saw women in the back. I saw men in the pulpit, but I saw women in the kitchen. And so that ideology became that women are second class. Okay, so me coming into my power was me realizing that I was not higher than, but I was equal to. And that's how I learned my place. I'm not ashamed to say I've had a history of my own. I've had a learning experience, and God has been gracious with me through the process. But you learn power by eliminating the ideas they put on you. And stop looking at the vast picture, because I looked at the vast picture and it was the same. It was, how many women can you get? How much can you, how can you do it, Doc? Do it that way. But then I had to learn, I had to take care of my family. I'm learning to prepare, and I'm learning to gain my power even now as I move forward, and how am I going to treat my son and my future wife and things like that. So I gained power by releasing toxic masculinity. Wow. Yeah, because I was the guy that I could argue up and down why a woman shouldn't be in power. I could do it because that was what I was fed. I saw it. Deacons sit here, mothers sit behind, women cook, men preach. No power, be quiet, and they use the biblical text to argue against it. But when I start looking at it, I'm like, this is not working. And to be honest with you, and I don't mean to take too much time, but I learned that I was actually enjoying the patriarchy. I mean, let's be honest. I was enjoying the patriarchy because it was self-soothing to me, my comments. And so I gained power by empowering women.
Wow. Y'all really hit on some deep points. Did you have anything to add to that?
I'm just thinking of what Rodney said and what Chris said, and so a lot of deep things are being said today. When it comes to the church, you said you saw things happen in the church. You really came into yourself by coming to church. So how do you all think we can encourage black men to come back to the church, to be leaders in the church?
Order, transparency, vision. One of the things that I've never given up on is, where am I going? You cannot ask me to invest in something that you have no vision for. And
there's no vision,
the people perish. And let's just be honest, the church is 80%, 75 or 80% women. And that's no slight. The reality is the world is more populated. That's what we don't want to talk about. The world is more populated with women than men. Okay. Huh?
That's very true.
It's true. So, okay. But when it comes to organizations, if you're going to lie, theologically lie, if you're going to have episcopal disorder, however you want to say it, if you're going to have disorder in the house, and you're asking me to come and be a part of something, how are you going to ask me to be a man of order, but you're going to ask me to come into a place of disorder? And so I think the best way for us to do that is to be honest and deal with the hard things in the world, to deal with the taboos of patriarchy and what that looks like, manhood and what that looks like, fatherhood. Deal with the realistic things, things that I didn't hear about, and I became a father out of wedlock. Yes, I'm a staff pastor. Yes, all of those things. It is because the church didn't have that conversation with me.
Right.
And I've been in ministry since I was 14, so y'all do the math.
I would say one thing that stuck out from the morning service was, I think one of the points that he spoke on was real men speak up. And I feel like even from the millennials, 18 through 25, I feel like there's only a few of them that are in the church. And I feel like, I don't know if this is what you feel, but from my perspective, I feel like some of those young men are afraid to reach out to their other men peers. Like, okay, look, dude, I see you taking this route. Can you come visit church? Like, is that comfortable for you? Is that easy for you to do? Is that outreach there for the young men?
And I think it has to be the right person who can bring that person in. And I think just like how he said, definitely, when I was thinking about the points, I was thinking about, I like how he said transparency. You got to be transparent, because if you're sweeping stuff under the rug and you're trying to get people to come to church, you're going to sugarcoat it. Like, we're dealing in a world where, especially the youth, we're dealing with real problems now. So it's not like how it was 20, 30 years ago, where if you had a problem, your parents would say, well, just man up, or no, that didn't happen. No, we're living in an age where people are getting kidnapped, they're getting molested, thinking about suicide. We're in a pandemic where people are losing their minds each and every day. So you have to be transparent enough. If you want to bring someone to the church, especially the youth, and if you're a leader and a man, you have to be transparent, because we are dealing with real life things that are going on. So you got to be transparent and be accountable as well. They have to look up to you. They have to trust you to know, like, hey, I'm thinking about going to church. Everything I've heard from the church, people be stealing money, people talk about you. I got to know, can I depend on you when bad stuff happens? It's that and vision. Like, just like I said, the people will perish. So vision, where are you going? Where are you taking me? Because as a man, like I said, we're a leader by default. So you have to lead by vision. So that's how I feel. If you're leading the youth, you got to have those three things.
You know what? Another thing that brought to my mind is integrity.
For sure.
Because many people, when we think about church, we think of this mystical environment, but the reality is church is nothing more than a community. A community is nothing more than a gathering of individuals. And if an individual cannot be trusted, then I'm not going to trust the institution. So we have to have integrity, that if I'm going to tell you to come to church, if I'm going to tell you to spend 2 hours in church with God, I should give you 166 hours in the street that make you trust church for 2 hours. But if I tell you to come to church but you can't trust me, then we've already lost them at the conversation.
I like what Minister Sean said earlier about having, and we've talked about this, a praise partner, accountability partner. We mentioned that a lot on the round table. And you mentioned something about people being able to reach out. You mentioned the speak up piece. Within the last few years, I would say, and I don't know statistics, but quite a few, I would say, black men that I know have committed suicide. Some of them have reached out. I'm talking about grown men. They, might have reached out to somebody, and they didn't get a response back, or they may have went to social media, and they cried out, right before they did that. But imagine how many lives we could be saving, if more black men stood up, speak up, be that praise partner. Let's gather in church and worship and praise together. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things this is just a thought. I feel like with black men specifically, you have so many other things going on in the back of your mind. And I feel like just trying to meet standards, trying to be that figure that everybody puts you in. It's just like, who am I? It's like, who am I really? So it's like, for me, it's like whenever you see a black man, it's just like, oh, that's a black man. That's not Rodney or that's Chris. It's like people see, oh, that's a black guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's almost a target on your back.
Absolutely.
Like when those shootings were happening, no, not when, but as these shootings are happening, I go to church. I spend most of my time in my office. I'm still nervous when I get in my truck and drive home. There's a lot that I wrestle with, not as a preacher, not as a father, just as a black man.
Yeah.
Just to get from church to home, make sure I get back, it's just a lot. And so with all of the other things, I'm just trying to survive.
And it's crazy because it shouldn't have to be that way. Like, just because the color of my skin is different, I shouldn't have to be scared to get inside my own car that I paid for.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's just, it's ridiculous. Like you said, we already have enough problems on our plate already
Yeah.
when it comes to being a provider and protector, trying to make sure the wife is good, the kids are good,
Get in school.
making sure the house is paid for, let alone I'm worried about if I go to the corner store and the cops come by, how I know when I'll be arrested. It's scary to even leave the house,
Yes.
especially we're now in 2021.
Yeah.
And it's a weird time. And like I said, men go through a lot, but we don't express it though. And I think
That's it.
and that's another thing. Like we go through a lot, but we don't express it. And one of my favorite preachers, the Devon Franklin, he wrote a book called the Truth About Men, and he says sometimes men are expressive because that's how we were taught growing up, and sometimes women, they cover, they conceal it, and sometimes women want to know, well, how come you're not sensitive? How come you don't tell me that you love me? Because we've grown up being instilled in us and ingrained in us that we have to live this way, and it's kind of hard that the women who we love, who wants to love us, we make it hard for y'all to love us at times.
Ooh, that's the next question. I want to say that's really deep. I think this is really helping me look through the lens of black men, because you're receiving pressure from the world, you're receiving pressure from black women, just like all around. I feel like the black man is truly like one of the most powerful person. When you put the right black man in power, you know how much stuff change. So it's a lot to that. And so you mentioned love. I think that what are ways that you like to receive love, or that's kind of like, just kind of expand on that. How do you like to receive love as a black man?
As a black man, just tell me what I do good. Tell me what I do good. So that's how I know, hey, this is what keeps my woman happy in a relationship. So, like I said, tell me the things that I do good. Like, let me know that, like, what words of affirmation. I know we talked about this. What words of affirmation? So, say, like, tell me that you love me. Tell me I'm a king. No, just tell me, like, hey, I got food prepared for you when you go home. I know you had a long day at work. Or, hey, hey, I put the game on. I got a beer right by the side on the lazy boy. So, and, like I say, I put the kids to sleep. So, if you want to 1, 2, then yes. Don't be
Mercy, Lord.
Hey, we be fruitful and multiply. I'm trying to say, we be fruitful and multiplying in covenants. Yes, in covenants. So that's how, like, as a black man, that's how I'll be loved, to treat me like a king.
Good.
Yeah.
What about you?
I wish, before I answer, I wish this question would be asked more, because it's almost hard to answer it.
It is.
I think one of the ways I think I would enjoy being loved is encouraged, affirmed, supported. Support goes a long way. It goes, especially when you have done so much and gained so much, you get tired of the material stuff. I just want someone that can support the cause or the call on my life. And I think just, you know what? I am best loved when you're your better self. And that's for anybody. It could be family, relationship. When I can create an environment for you to come alive in, that shows me you love me, when you want the best for you.
Ooh, mic drop, Erica.
That's a hard one to come after. I wanted to ask you guys a question. What would you say to young people, young men, I would say, who are hesitant to come to church or hesitant to get involved at the church? What would you say? And the reason why I'm asking this question is, when we were on Zoom, I don't know if you were on our Zoom calls, but anyway, my son was on there, and Brandon and Nick, would talk to him. And his dad is totally in his life. His dad is around. But it was nice to have, like Pastor Micah said, other voices be able to speak to him. And it would be nice if we had more of that, if that can grow in the near future.
I would tell a young black man, that sacrifice is important and it will not kill you. I think that's where we have to get beyond. Many people understand that coming to church is going to cost them something, but we don't understand that on the flip side of that, what you sacrifice, God will give back. And that's what I think a lot of times the church has done to many people. We say give, but we don't give. Yeah. And so now people are like, well, I'm tired of giving because if you ain't giving nothing to me. So I would tell them that sacrifice does come with an abundance on the other end, but be willing to sacrifice.
That's a nice point.
For me, I will say you will grow. Because that's one thing I learned as I got into the church. I feel like I learned what true manhood was once I stepped into the church. When I saw how my pastor loved his first lady, how he would praise her, how he would say, "Oh, so yeah, my girlfriend just came into the sanctuary." Yeah. And I remember it was one time, like, when I think it was like their anniversary, and then he sung "My Girl" by the Temptations. Oh. So just know that when you decide to go to church, you will grow. You, like, whether you notice or not, you will grow. Wow. Even these past 3-4 years of me being truly dedicated, I can see I've grown since then, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, of course. So you will know a difference when you will grow.
What better place to grow than the church? For any young man who is watching, if you feel hesitant, if you feel nervous, or you feel like people may judge you, or you feel like you aren't where you want to be to show up, it doesn't matter. When we say truly come as you are, Rodney came as he was, I came as I was, we all did. Nobody, like, a lot of people see the finished product. They don't see what it took for you to get there. And so all you have to do is really take that leap, that step of faith, and get there. Y'all, there's a church on every corner in Cleveland.
Every corner.
Find one. And I'm not telling you one gonna be perfect. You may have to look around and search for the one that's for you, but once you get in there, you will kind of find what you need. You'll know what you need to grow. You're like, oh wow, this is something, And so I'm very thankful that you both got on here and were very transparent. Like, I think that more dialogue, open conversations need to happen for Black men.
For sure.
I got 4 brothers, and we have to put ourselves in better situations, better places, so that we could at least decrease our chances of something bad happening to us.
Yeah.
So survival happens in the church.
Absolutely.
And so, did you have anything you want to add before we hop on?
I know we are getting ready to close out. I just want to reiterate the importance of loving on our Black men, speaking positive affirmations into our Black men, praying for our Black men is so important, because every day they go out here and probably feel so much pressure, the need to maybe put a mask on, so they can stand up and be the man that people assume they should be. Yeah. So let's just continue to pray for our Black men.
All right. I'm going to pray for y'all today. Okay. All right. Dear Lord, we thank you for being our Father. We thank you for being our friend. We thank you for being the greatest example of a real man. Lord, right now I ask that you will just touch these 2 young men that are here, Rodney and Chris. I pray that you protect them as they travel to and fro from wherever they may be. Lord, I pray that you instill and place on their heart the love that you have for them. And I hope and pray that they will be able to recognize that love that you have, and that they're able to send that out to other people. God, I pray that you will fill every gap that they may have, Lord, when they feel like they are not enough, Lord. I pray that you just remind them that they are enough, Lord. I thank you for the growth that has happened for them through you, God, and I pray that they will touch many, many, many other young Black men, and I pray that it'll be like a revolution. It'll be natural. You will see young men in the churches worshiping and not being afraid of being vulnerable, Lord. I pray that they will be that example for them, so that when another young Black man see them, they may be inspired. They may feel empowered and motivated to learn or seek you, Lord. I thank you for the things that you have already done and the things that you are going to do in their lives. I pray, Lord, right now that you forgive them and forgive us for our sins that we commit unwillingly and willingly, Lord. Help us to be better for you, Lord. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
If you were blessed by this awesome word, we do have a few ways to give. We have Givelify, PayPal, Cash App. Feel free to sow a seed in what you see happening here in Cleveland. We also have text to give, 216-306-GIVE. And just be a blessing to someone. We thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a very blessed week. Peace out.